The bids are in. The gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. With you as always, I am Jeff McGurn from WineBid's marketing team. And of course, I have with me our wine expert, Paul, the superstar of Summer Walker. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Thank you.
It's great.
Superstar of Saumur. Okay.
That's what your nickname is. That's what people call you.
Got it.
And, we're going to be, and that's really appropriate because we're going to be going through France today. We're going to be talking about some of the really interesting French wines that have come to auction this week. That's the auction that is ending Sunday, May 19th at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 2024. Let's start with Burgundy because you always get upset when I start with Bordeaux. And there's a lot of really interesting Bordeaux.
There is. Burgundy and Bordeaux both. I've got, quite a few selections for each one.
I'm going to take the wind out of your sails. There's a ton of DRC coming into auction.
True. There is some great looking 69s also, which I got to look up close and personal, and they look beautiful. So
yeah,
a couple Grands Esters of 69. I don't know if there's any other 69, but anyway, they look fantastic.
I thought this 2020 Costa Merceau looked kind of interesting. That looked like that could be tasty. I wouldn't pour that out of my glass. I drink that. I don't know about you.
Good to know.
96 Leflaive Puligny-Montrachet Le Combettes for $5.50. We got one of those. 1937 Hospices de Beaune Volnay Cuvee Blondeau Elve Camille Giroud for $4.75.
Eleve. So it was vinified and barrel and bottled by Camille Giroud, which is a great producer. That's a very, very old wine and not horrifically expensive for something from the 30s. If you're looking for a centennial anniversary bottle, that's not a terrible price. It looks great too.
Yeah, I was gonna say the bottle looks outstanding.
I didn't look at up close if there's anything about reconditioning, or I didn't actually look at the inspection notes as well, but I'm sure it looks great. I mean, it passed, right? So it's not going to be up there if it didn't pass inspection.
This one looks amazing. And like you, I was looking at that thing like $475. That's it.
I know, for 37. It's pretty amazing.
That's pretty.
Probably was labeled. My guess too is might have been labeled later before it was imported. Wine Cellar's Limited, it's probably imported, who knows, 20 or 30 years ago. I'm only guessing, but that's a really, really neat bottle.
We've got some mags of Jeff Mugnier, Nuits-St Claude de la Marechale. We've got a mag of the 10 for $3.50 and a mag of the 14 for $3.70. I actually didn't think that was crazy for the mags.
Were these added late? Because I noticed there's some Mugnier wines in. Are you talking about Mugnier, right?
JF Mugnier.
Yeah, Freddie Mugnier. So they're interesting. I think, it's the Marechale white. In Magnum. And okay, I see those. Cool.
We've got a 3-bottle lot wood case of mags of 2020 Henri Boillot Corton-Charlemagne for $1,500. Actually, again, I like 3 mags of 2020 Corton. I thought that, that's not crazy either.
No, it's not terrible.
05 Faveli Clos de Beaujolais for $170. I thought that might be nice. A mag of 14 Francois Ravenel Petit Chablis for $3.50. We have 6 of those, actually. So if you're interested in picking up some Ravenel, as we know, Ravenel is notoriously inexpensive. I'm joking. But for Ravenel, $350 for a mag. And I feel like, I don't know, it's not like we see Ravenel mags come across every day, right?
No, it's, Petit Chablis can be fun. I think this, from my perspective, it's like, I would bring a bottle like this to, say, a place where you kind of want to show off a label, but not a vineyard. If you want to,
right? Look, it's not Le Clos, right? Like
no. And so people are like, ooh, Ravenel. But if they're not super familiar with the different, parts of Chablis, and they know the classification, or they don't know the classifications, I should say, that would be a fun one to bring. That's 10 years old too. Petit Chablis, I mean, it ages not as well as some of the other wines, but I'm sure it's great.
96 Camp Lafon Volnay, Santenau, du Milieu.
Oh, this is a great mag.
Yeah, 340.
Yeah, that wine is cool. I've rarely seen that in Magnum before, and that doesn't seem like a terrible price.
No, 340. I mean,
340. Yeah.
what is it? 170 a bottle.
Not terrible.
16 Sylvain Cottard, Beaune Romanee, Malconsort for 7.
Cat's Yard. Yeah, that is serious stuff. Yeah, that's
30. Keeping in line with the mags, 1990 Domaine, Malm, Chambertin mag has 2 bids on it, taking it from 410 to 490. That didn't strike me as a crazy price at 410. Maybe now it's getting into that territory, but that's got some age on it.
Right. Well, it's 1990s, an incredible vintage in Burgundy and elsewhere, but that's not a terrible price. Mom has been well respected. It's not considered first tier, I should say, but that is a deal, I would say. The 91 Mozzie mag at 330 is good too. I thought that was a nice price.
Yeah, not bad at all. 02 Henri Gauche, Nuits-St Clos de Porret, Saint Georges mag has 1 bid on it, taking from 240 to 250. So a lot of really interesting large format stuff in Burgundy this week. Paul, what am I missing here?
Yeah, no, some great wines. And you're right. Large formats that we don't see all that often, and from very, from great to incredible vintages with, close to and more than 30 years in some cases. So that's always a lot of fun. There's some, I don't know if you saw these Abbé de Saint-Vivant Bourgognes. So that's like a Romanee-Conti produced wine. And there are some that have this Lavinia designation on them, which is actually a retailer in France. I remember researching this a few years ago because there was some interest in what these actually were. I don't know if the wine is, of, let's just say, Grand Cru white, DRC quality. I've never tasted it, but it is collectible and actually quite rare. And there's another designation for Cave Auge, and I think that's kind of the same thing. It was like a private label for a retailer, Cave Auge and Lavinia. I've been to Lavinia before; it's a pretty amazing store, but I've never tasted this wine. Anyway, there's interesting. There's kind of multiple different vintages of that. They're all Haut-Côte-de-Nuit Blanc, and I believe vinified at Romanee-Conti. Let's see. Then there's a Magnum along the Magnum path and trend here of the Malchois Chassagne-Montrachet Le Dent de Chien for $250 for the 04. It's great white vintage, and I think that was a terrible price. There's a bunch of Bruno Clavelier wines, Clavelier, which last couple of weeks we saw, I want to say we saw some record hammers for these. They were getting bid up quite a bit, and all of a sudden now there's a bunch more, and they're not, it's all the same vineyard. I think they're all Combe d'Orvaux from Mugnier, and there's a whole bunch. There's 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, and multiple bottles of each. So, and the prices are like start at about 130 and they go up to about 275 for the 15. And so that was interesting. You mentioned the DRC's De Monti Magnum Duo, which is Malconsor, and then also it's Pommard Rougien. So it's a Magnum of each in a wood case, which is kind of cool. So you get the Malconsor and then you also get Pommard Rougien. Obviously, great difference in price for those two, but you get the 2-pack for $16.90, and there's actually 2 of them. There's also that sort of reserve label, if you will, of the De Monti Malconsor, which is different than the homage bottlings that are in that Magnum Duo. So there's a 16 De Monti Von Romanee Malconsor Christian for $460. There's actually 6 of those. Romeo Bon Mar caught my eye. 2020. There's 4 of those for $18.95. Again, we were joking in the recap edition of the podcast this week about Romeo Corton-Charlemagne being a lot less than 00 Corton-Charlemagne. Anyway, you got another shot at it this week. The 2020's in 3 bottles for $7.10. At least a couple $100 cheaper than the 00. No accounting for taste. Anyway, let's see. Moving on. Launay Oriot. This is a pretty rare wine. Chambertin. I think there's a couple different designations, but anyway, Launay-Oriot, that's the one that caught my eye. They're very expensive. Well, excuse me, not terribly expensive, but there's 12 bottles of the Chambertin for $270. No, not expensive for Chambertin. What am I saying? And then Pommard Chaponière at $50. A bunch of Leflaive. You'd mentioned, I think, Combettes or something. There's Foillard, there's Clairvoyant, there's Meursault, there's Macon for the entry level price, $40 in fact for 05 Domaine Leflaive Macon Versé. It's probably as cheap as they're going to get for Domaine Leflaive. There's a 91 Domaine Loire Corton Renard, which caught my eye at 1900. Mentioned the Môme wines. There's Mayo Camazé Croparentu, a very, very famous little parcel of Von Romanee that Henri planted a bunch of years ago. Anyway, there's a 98 for $17.50. It was Charlotte Parizeau. There's Bourgogne Franc de Pied in this week. Another one that we don't see very often and quite rare, 19 and 2012. There's Ponceau Chambertin Old Vines, 13 in for $9.50. And you mentioned the Gouge. There's a couple of Gouge Magnums, which is kind of cool. We don't see that very often, especially, 20 plus years old. And those things probably go another 20 years, frankly, in Magnum. Yeah. Gorgeous bottles. Yes, I think, that's about rounding up Rouleau Bourgogne Blanc. Let's see. Joseph Voyot Volnay Champagne, 1973. I thought that was interesting for $60. There's Maison Evenstad, which is a Northwest producer. Again, we keep talking about Northwest producers making Burgundy. Anyway, some Maison Evenstad popped in this week, Oregonian producer that's making wine in their own actual parcels. They're not just, buying fruit. They actually own vineyards in Burgundy, Corton-Renard, and Puligny-Montrachet. They're not terribly expensive. There's a D'Angevy Mag, Volnay Clos de Duc, 2012 for $420. Didn't think it was terrible. Also 14 Clos de Duc and $750. There's some Michel Lafarge, Miton, and just the straight Volnay Vendange Sélectionné. There's some Moray Blanc in 07s we don't see all the time. 04 Javillier, Meursault, Le Tillet, Cuvée Spéciale. I thought that was a good deal at 45 for aged Meursault, 20-year-old Meursault from a very well-known but not super expensive producer. Pat Loup Chablis in this week, which seems to be getting hotter. Prices are going up for that stuff. They used to be, sort of 40, 50, and now they're kind of 60, 70. Pacolet is always kind of a hit with the Natural Wine Crew. There's a Gervais Chambertin in that Catillard looks incredible. And that rounds out my Burgundy list.
Let's jump into Bordeaux because there's a lot of really cool Bordeaux.
There is.
I'm going to start
I think we both have the same picks. I'll just say right off the bat, if you won't mind, we had talked about a certain 01 Chapelle de La Forêt-Périgueux Sauternes getting bid up last week to $62 for a half bottle of the 01. I just want to mention before Jeff gets started that there are 01 half bottles from the flagship labels of various producers in Sauternes, including Philo. Let's see, there's a couple others, but there's Cuté in half bottles, Defargue in half bottles, La Forêt-Périgueux, in fact, in half bottles, all kinds of great Sauternes this week. Rio Sec, so just a really nice, and they're not expensive. They're
not expensive. They're not
expensive.
I'm going to go the opposite direction.
Straight for the high end.
Yeah, Mag of 73 Cheval Blanc, two bids from 670 to 820. I was like, whoa!
I know, and did you see? I think there's only 3 bottles of Cheval Blanc new this week, and 2 of them are mags from interesting vintages. So.
Yes. I thought that was like really cool. 71 Petrus, we have very limited quantity. We only have 11 bottles of this 71 Petrus.
It's like, wow, it's like lot after lot after lot of this stuff.
Somebody buy a case, drink one.
Yeah, it looks like it just got broken up into conditions. Yeah.
So those ones are at $21.50. A mag of 79 Petrus for $2,800. I thought that was interesting. I thought also interesting, this 96 Liva Lascaux for $225. We just had a 96 Grand Prix Lacoste, not the same bottle, but it was outstanding. So
I didn't have any of it. You didn't share.
Oh, that's right. Because you said you didn't want any. Remember,
you said you had a mag, you had enough to share.
In my hand.
It turned out it wasn't a mag. It turned out it was a 750.
You know, it was a 750. I offered it to you. I said, Paul, would you like some? I've got some of this Grand Prix. I said, no, I don't need your damn Grand Prix.
No, if it was the wine you mentioned, Leve Las Casas, I would have said yes.
You would have been like, absolutely. 2000 La Maison Aubryon has a bid on it. Taking from 490 to 510.
That kind of looked like a deal at the first, and now I'm thinking it might even go up from there. So
I think it might too. Also, with a bid on it, this 82 Pichon Lalande.
Legendary. That wine's legendary. I kind of looked at it, and I looked in the system because I was like, oh, there's a few of these. Like, why is it at 610? But it's like, oh, it's already got a bid. So
already got a bid. There are 4 in auction total. 89 Montrose for 490 or 420.
Yeah, another one that we've kind of seen go neck and neck with the 1990. They're both kind of sort of famous wines. They've both kind of been around that 500 level. In fact, I think the 89 got bid up beyond the 90 a few months back, but that looks amazing.
And we sold a mag of the 90 Montrose last week.
Right, just last week. Yeah.
Just last week. 2000 Du Cru Boucalot. Well, already there are 5. One has a bid on it, but they're at 215. 96 Angelus for 300.
Yeah, and that's the cheaper of the two.
Well, yeah.
What was 2000 in or 05?
05 was at 440. But I wanted to point out that 2023 on Premier for Angelus was 355.
Really?
Yeah, so like you can get a 96 for 300 or spend, I don't know, $100 more.
Yeah, futures
$5 more and get an 05, which I'm sure that 05 probably still probably still go a few more years, but I'll bet you that's just singing right now. Speaking of 05s, 05 Pavi, one bid taking it from 355 to 375. We've got the 2000 Leoville Porfier, 4 of those at 165. You can also get the 18 for 130.
Yeah.
And 18.
That's the deal. That's the deal.
The deal right there is 30. The 09 Pichon Baron for 185. 82 La Consciente for 330. I didn't think that was terrible for La Consciente. 82 Gerard Laroche for 300. I mean, that's an epic Gerard Laroche from an epic vintage in Bordeaux. And
how cheap the 85 was? It's $95. $95.
Or you could get the 86 for 175, right?
Yeah. See, that's funny to me. I would buy the 85 because I think it's a better vintage. And I don't know. The 86 is good, but the 85 is a steal at $95. And I mean, it's again, it comes down to domestic scoring, because if you look at the 85, it got, I think, 4 stars from Broadbent, and Decanter gave it, I think, the same rating. So the Brits really like it, but Americans don't. So go figure.
88 Riesec half bottle already has a bid on it, taken from 50 to 51. And then we've got that 01 Riesec, like you mentioned, for 135 for the 750. Speaking of Grand Prix Lacoste, 2000 Grand Prix Lacoste for $100. We have 3 of those. Also have the 05 for 115. I feel like Grand Prix Lacoste is just a fantastic deal. Like, it's great wine. It ages really well. The 96, if you tried it, you would know it's delicious, but you turned it down. And I got to try it. I was hoping, since you're coming down to San Diego in a couple weeks, you could just throw this in your bag. If you could just grab for me that 1994 Razon Segua, if you could just put that in your carry-on.
You could just put that. You could just lay that bottle on the baggage claim. You just check that bottle itself. You wouldn't even need a box for it. The thing is so big. It's so
15 liters.
Thick as glass. Yeah.
15 liters, $1,700.
Not a bad price.
Yeah.
It's a weird vintage, but
let's talk real here, okay? You know how much money you can save on corkage with that?
Oh God, you're doing this.
What? They charge you one time, even if the corkage is like $75, right? You're getting your money's worth, Paul. You're getting your money's worth. Now, you probably need a team of waiters
exactly. You need a decanting cradle for that thing.
You need a decanting cradle for that. 16 Chateau Lacry Ducasse for 80. We've got 2 of those.
Larcy Ducasse. Just want to make sure people know what you're talking about.
Larcy Ducasse.
Ducru Buccaleu, everyone knows, even if you're massacring the pronunciation. But Larcy Ducasse, you want to make sure it's a soft C, not a hard C.
Half bottle of 19 Citaro for 35. Well, bid take it to 36 now.
I mean, that's a steal. 1990, phenomenal Sauternes vintage. Citaro, amazing producer. $36. Yeah.
$36.
Yeah, where are you going to find anything from 1990? You know, especially from a great producer and vintage. So
I actually thought this. I didn't think this was bad. $790 for this bottle of 1949 Chateau Clemens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that too. It looks amazing.
That would be cool. It looked amazing. I thought full 750. I thought that would be cool. One I love, Fleur Cardinal, 2016, $50. We got 3 of those. I think that's a good producer. 2003, La Fleurie, that's the one, the Paraguay half bottle. We've got those for 2 of those for, well, they have bids on them now, but they went from 25 to 32. And the last one I'll mention, I didn't mention the 2020 Canon, which went from 160, 170. The en premiere for the 2020 Canon was 142. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was really fair because it's also a double 100, right? It got I think I can't remember if it's second against somebody else or maybe not the Advocate, but anyway.
So I remember I actually bought like a couple of cases of this on premiere when it came out. This bottle, when it came out on premiere, was like the darling, I feel like, of on premiere from a price value perspective, right? QPR. And so I'm not surprised to see it go up to 160 or even 170. And I have a feeling it could go up even more. Supposedly it's supposed to be amazing, but like I said, double 100 points. Everyone just said it was amazing. And it came out $142, which was crazy for something of that quality. And Canon, I feel like, has like the quality seems to be increasing, or at least the appreciation has been increasing.
Sure. I mean, it's funny because I really actually would have expected it to go for more. Another 15, because the 15 is a double 100 score as well. Well, not from the Advocate. I just looked it up, but the Advocate gave the 2020 100 points, which to me would have pushed it beyond the price of the 15. Because 15 just sold for 195. So to me, the 2020 really seems like a deal for, you know, what is it, 170 now?
170, yeah. Well, I mean, look,
that's not bad.
If you're looking in retrospective, something with double 100 point scores from those critics, and a great vintage, you're probably, like you said, you're looking at $300, $400 for a bottle, right? 2020, and speaking of 20s, 2020 Les Carmes Aubryon. Le Carme Aubryon, 3 bottles. One has a bid, 125. On premiere was 115. I actually think even at the 125, that's still a good deal for Le Carme Aubryon.
Yeah, it is.
And that's going to be delicious stuff. You basically paid $10 not to have to wait, you know, a number of years, 3 years,
right?
2 years to get it in 1 year of storage. Right. So I didn't think that was crazy. What did I miss here in Bordeaux?
You know, I think you picked a lot of the stuff, same things I did. And 18 Beaujolais was another deal for 140 for that wine. I think it was fair. 66 Ozone snuck in this week at 355. It's a rare one. Yeah, all kinds of great Sauternes, Philo, Defarge, Couté, Clément, like just everybody under the sun. And they're all inexpensive. Obviously, some of, you know, Decam and the old Clément are not cheap, but great wines across the board. There was a couple of 61s. There was we mentioned a 61 Leflaive, like I think last week. And then this week, a 61 Aubryon and Latour popped in. Latour is obviously the most famous of, you know, all the first grows from that vintage. It's an amazing wine and it's very expensive, but anyway, fun to see those. And then, 89 Lynch Bage. I always like to point that out when it comes up for auction. It's just so incredible. And it's continuously drinking great. 425 for that, I think is, you know, it can stand up and take down first growth all day. It's really, really good. So that I always like to mention. 70 Mouton actually popped in. Price has been going up for that because I think people know it's good. 515. And then there's 96 Mouton. There's quite a bit of different vintages of Mouton, but the ones that I stick out for me were 70 and the 96. The 96 is 585. I had that wine. I thought it was incredible on release, and I think it's still amazing. 89 Palmer, a couple of those in at 365. Again, I think that's a really heavy hitter wine for Palmer. And 82 Cost snuck in this week. I think that's just another, you know, phenomenal second growth wine. Just Pichon line, you know, is amazing for second growth from 82. It's expensive, obviously, thanks to that 100-point Parker score, which, you know, it still holds weight. I think it is really incredible. It is just amazing. But 82 costs half the price, or give or take, is at 330. I think is also just stunning. And then there's some 16 Domaine de Chevalier Rouge, which always seems to be sort of underpriced for the red wine. Got great scores, and it's $65. 96 and 99 Pavillon Rouge, second label for Margaux. The 96 is creeping up. It's at 185, but that's very tasty wine, and a fraction of the cost of the Chateau Margaux. And I think that's it.
Let's jump around really quickly around France because there's some really cool stuff before we wrap up here.
Sure.
Alsace, this 17 Pierre Spar Schonenberg already has a bid on it. We have 12 of them, but one of them has a bid on them at least. $20. I love Pierre Spar. They have great wine, and that's a phenomenal price, great value. And then the 18 Domaine Valentine Zousseline Pinot Noir Bolenberg has 4 bids, taking it from 20 to 22. There are 2 of those. That's why there are 4 bids.
You see, interesting tidbit about this Pierre Spar wine. The glass is really cool. I don't know if you looked at the picture, but the bottle has this amazing sort of flame pattern to the glass.
I have these bottles.
Oh, you do? Okay. And that must have cost them a fortune to do too. That's interesting. And Schonenberg, Grand Cru Vineyard too. That's cool.
Honestly, I have a bunch of Pierre Spar stuff at home. I drink it a lot. It's great stuff. It's got these bottles.
It's a great deal.
It's a fun $20. I think I paid more. More than that for my Pierre Spar.
It's got to be more at retail.
I think it was 20. Yeah. I mean, I could look it up at $25, $26, $27 or something like that. So $20, really not that bad for Pierre Spar. Got a little bit of age on it.
Sure.
That's going to be amazing stuff. I love Pierre Spar. Beaujolais. Oh my gosh. Look at all this.
Tons of stuff. Yeah.
Tons of Foillard, right? And you got Foillard, Fleury, Morgan, Affanor. You've got Morgan Côte de Puy. And then you've got a bunch of pie, including a bunch of pie magnums from Foillard.
Cuvee 3.14 for those who don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's pie. And then
there's a pie symbol on the label, but if you don't know what you're saying, and your pronunciation is anyone's guess as to what you're talking about. So I just wanted to clarify that it was the Cuvee 3.14.
My pronunciation of pie?
Well, that you can pronounce.
Okay, well, I thought you were like, well, who knows what you're saying?
Well, are you saying Côte de Pie, Côte de Pie,
I just said Cuvee,
Pie Gal, Paillard? Who knows what you're talking about?
Could you just step off of your soapbox for just a second, Paul, when we finish this up? 01 and 03, Marcel Lapierre Morgan. I like Marcel.
You can just say Lapierre. People will understand that. They won't know pie, but they'll understand Lapierre. They know that Marcel is.
There's a bunch of Marcel Lapierre.
I'm just going to get on your case.
06, I know, 04, 06, 07, a mag of the 13. And then there's some Domaine de la Grande Cour, which is Jean-Louis Dutrave.
Dutrave. Yeah, you can just say Dutrave.
Some really cool Beaujolais. Let's go to Champagne. I know you're a big sparkling head. That's what I'm.
Yeah, I had a lot of picks in Champagne this week. Actually,
you picked that 79 Krug Brut. Probably.
Yes, yeah, that looks incredible. There's all kinds of Krug. There's full cases of rosé. I mean, there's everything.
There's tons of Krug.
Old Jacques Salassin this week, 4 bottles of the 88, which is crazy.
The 96 Salon.
Yeah, there's Salon. There's like a bunch of La Hertz. There's L'Amiable. There's all sorts of blocks from 2010. 08, Pure Peter Chetillon, which I don't think we've seen before or very recently. Yeah, amazing champagne selection this week.
It was amazing. Cedric Bouchard, Pierre Jouet.
Yeah, 6-packs.
Pierre Jouet, Brun Group, 9-liter. Bollinger, Blanc de Noir, Villevine, Francais.
Yeah, the VVF is in, which, that price seems low too. I mean, 99, not the same as some of the other vintages we've had, but 940, it's incredibly rare stuff too.
Did you see the Cedric Bouchard Roses Dijon, Blanc de Blanc, Labor?
Yeah, the 6-pack. Yeah, sure.
100.
Theory also.
Yeah.
I did want to note to some of the team at WineBid that there are scores listed for multi-vintage wines which are not necessarily accurate. And it's because the system throws basically any score from a multi-vintage wine associated with that producer. It's very frustrating because we try to put disgorgement dates for all the individual wines where we have that information. So I did just want to put that out there. And Elie Aurier is one of the ones I brought up today. I said, hey, can we fix the scores for these? Because they're all different disgorgement dates. So obviously they're different wines. They're not necessarily the wines that the critics are referring to. So wanted to make a point of that. It's very frustrating in the system that we can't do it more accurately, but we are trying our best. And obviously, we have to update the system. But anyway, there's a bunch of Elie Aurier on that note.
08 Bellecote-Saumon Cuvée Elizabeth Saumon Brut for 185, and the 08 Villemar Cour de Cuvée Premier Cru for 190. And then I thought this 89 Palmery Brut Louise 185 was cool. Brut Louise is their, tête de cuvée, right? And that's absolutely delicious. And this mag of 2012 Pierre Peters Grand Cru Cuvée Spéciale Le Montjoly Blanc de Blanc for 500.
Yeah, we had this wine in New York, whatever it was, a month ago. Yeah. I don't remember if it was 2012 or not, but I loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. And the 08 Chatillon's got to be incredible. That one's got to be amazing. There's also the Heritage Blanc de Blanc that Pierre Peters makes, which is like the super, super duper Solera. I don't know if it's called a Solera or not, but anyway, it's a blend of a whole bunch of vintages. And it's got a special case and everything, and that's 1150. So
let's jump to the Loire. I'm only going to mention a few things. 2010 Clos Roger, Saumur Champagny.
Rougiard, yeah.
And then here's one. I mean, we see this. I drink this all the time, so it's a bit pedestrian to me, but you might enjoy it. This 08 Didier Dagenau Poulet.
Right. Asteroide.
I would buy it. I just have so much in my cellar already, and it's hard to keep with it. I end up taking it to parties a lot.
No, I think the Guy Berthaud Magnum is more your speed. You just brought a Guy Berthaud Magnum to the party last week.
Guy Berthaud Magnum, but this Asteroide already has a bid taken from 1,200 to 1,300. Paul and I were talking about this earlier. It is like we sold like 7 times, not the 08 like Asteroid period. We sold 7 times in the history of WineBid, right?
Yeah, it's rare. It's rare.
This is a unicorn of a bottle.
Oh God, not that term.
It is. I mean, you just don't see it all that often. I'm sorry, you drink it all the time.
The term unicorn is absurd because it means it doesn't, it should not actually exist if it's truly a unicorn.
Well, there are unicorns in the ocean. They're called narwhals.
Ganavat Magnums in this week. They're cheap right now. They won't be at the end of the auction. There's Clos.
I was just going to mention Clos
and red. I actually had the 14, not the Groyot, but I had the 14 Chenin in the mountains in Lake Tahoe of all places. Recently, there was 1 bottle left at the Plumjack Cafe in Palisades. If anyone wants that now, it's gone. It was really, really good. It was cheap. But anyway, the Groyot looks interesting. The mags are inexpensive. The red's inexpensive. They're all under $100 for magnums. There's some Chidem Franc de Pied, which we don't see very often from Juan Louis Loire. So those I caught my eyes. Well, they've all got bids on them because that's hot stuff. And that wraps it up for me. I got to run anyway. So.
All right. I'll just mention really quickly, Rhone, 89 Boucassel, mag of 97, Jean-Louis Chauve, Hermitage, 90, Domaine de Pagao, Chateau de Pape Reservé.
Oh, yeah. There's Suho Magnums in this week, too, which we never see. And there's Maupassant Côte de Rhone, which is interesting because that's a Burgundy producer, but there's a 1971 Côte de Rhone from Maupassant in this week.
And then I'm going to wrap it up with an 07 Domaine de la Jeunesse, Chateauneuf de Pape, XXL, not XL.
XXL, yeah. Your 07 XXL. I don't know about that stuff, man.
Yeah, I don't know either, but it's in auction. It's $285. And with WineBids finally hammered, this has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers. And by the way, before I fully sign off, if you use the word superstar, you get $15 off of your order of $150 or more. This week only. The auction is ending on May 19th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Pacific time. You can still bid on all this stuff. Cheers.
Cheers.